How's it going, ladies and gentlemen? My name is Ruffled Reality, and welcome back to a brand new video. Now, this is going to be slightly more of a different video than from what we've had in the past where it comes to rumors and hints and that sort of stuff. So if you're expecting rumors and hints from this video, this is the wrong one. This is more going to be a discussion video about Pokemon on the Switch and potentially Let's Go Pikachu and Let's Go Eevee and how they are going to get impacted by Pokemon GO. Now, I'm going to take a look at an article here posted like earlier this freaking month, actually 2 weeks ago now, or well over 2 weeks ago now, on May 1st, which I read, and I was going to do a video on it, and I actually had a video ready, but right when I was about to put my video out, some crazy stuff happened back then, and the video was put on hold, so I decided to return here and talk about it now. Now, I was going to do a well-edited, kind of structured video, but due to me using a brand new recording, or rather, not recording software, but editing software, I'm having a lot of struggle with that. So either way, that's besides the point. Let's get into the actual discussion here. So what I want to discuss today, guys, is what can Pokemon GO do to impact Pokemon on the Switch? Now, however you may twist it, however you may hate Pokemon GO, you have to understand it's a game that's had a lot of impact on Pokemon as a franchise and also on the world. See, Pokemon GO kind of brought back a lot of people's nostalgia. People that never really played the Pokemon games past like Red and Blue, or who maybe played them in the past when they were children, but now they're adults and they don't really, care much about it. They were all brought back with this game. Even just the general public now, the quote-unquote normies, are playing this game. And that's kind of the thing, right? The game is so popular. It's so big. It's so, like, mega big. Like, you know what I mean? It's kind of hard for me to describe it, the popularity of this game. Like, 750 million downloads, I think, in what was it, like a year? And that's like pretty insane. And the game is very popular still. Even till this day, it still has popularity. And what I want to kind of discuss is, what can they learn from each other? So I was looking at this article, and that's what kind of made me think about it. So if you guys want to read through the article, it's by Joe Merrick, aka Cerebi, and he did a little bit of an article called, like, or a soapbox here, which is essentially is called what Pokemon GO and the Pokemon main series could learn from each other. And he discusses a lot of points, and I want to kind of go in on these points specifically myself as well, and talk about, like, some things that I think I agree with, but I'm mainly going to focus on what, like, Pokemon Switch can learn from Pokemon GO. So we can also take a look at the points here that he has for Pokemon GO to learn from the main series, and it's stuff like, companionship, the fact that, like, your Pokemon don't really grow with you through a story, but you're rather just kind of having them as a way to you just catch more and more and more, and there's really no, like, no connection between you and your Pokemon. That's a problem in Pokemon GO. There is no connection. You don't care about your Pokemon. They're simply just things you catch, so you can catch more and more and more, so then you can use them to turn them into candy, essentially, which is kind of disturbing when you think about it. So there is there's no story behind it. There's no reasoning behind what you're doing. There is no, like, kind of, in a sense, progression with your Pokemon in the same way you have in other games. You don't really have that, or rather in the Pokemon main series games. You don't have that same connection with your Pokemon, and that's something that Pokemon GO struggles with. Connectivity is something that Pokemon is well known for, as you guys may know. Pokemon is specifically big today because of one very big thing, and that was the fact that they made two versions, you guys may remember, red and green, and then of course, red and blue for North America and Europe, but they made those two games, and they made two versions, right? And they made exclusive Pokemon for each one of them, so that gave you a reason to connect with your friends who had the other version of, maybe, your friend had blue and you had red. It gave you a reason to connect with each other through the Game Boy cables and whatnot, the link cables, and trade. That's what made Pokemon into this special kind of adventure. I've always kind of described Pokemon in like 3 steps, right? It's like story, adventure, and trade. Rather it's like battling, adventure, and trading, right? That's kind of what I see Pokemon as. Like, you battle with your Pokemon, you go on an adventure, which includes story, and that's why I kind of moved that one away. So that includes, your story, the things you see, the things you do, and then, of course, trading, which is something that's very important in Pokemon. It's a staple of Pokemon that doesn't exist in Pokemon GO. It's a big issue for that game, I still think. And then story, of course, he mentions here, and shiny Pokemon, and how shinies work, and how, they may not be the best way to... They're not implemented in a proper way, is what I think he's going to go into. But then he mentions what the main series Pokemon can learn from Pokemon GO. And this is where I think it's more important for me to kind of talk about, because I am more excited for the Switch game than I am for anything Pokemon GO can really learn from the Switch game, because I don't really play Pokemon GO. So here's very important things I want to talk about here, is that it needs to kind of, like, Pokemon on the Switch needs to kind of learn in a lot of areas. Now, he mentions simplicity. This is something I agree with. there is so many variables within Pokemon, and this is something that you may disagree with me with. You can disagree, you can totally be against what I'm saying right here. I can fully understand it, guys. But I personally feel like Pokemon is so big right now, the barrier to entry for a brand new person, somebody like, new to the franchise, to enter the franchise is very hard. Like, look at the competitive scene of Pokemon. It's very much a mess. Like, I'm gonna be honest, the competitive scene, the VGC scene, and that sort of stuff, if you look at it, it feels like everybody kind of uses the same teams. There isn't really much diversity, and I personally don't really enjoy watching VGC, in my honest opinion, because it's just kind of, kind of boring almost, because everybody's using the same teams. And there's nothing against VGC or like, the competitive scene, because those people are talented and they're skilled players and stuff. But the problem is, when everybody's using the same setup, the same team and all that stuff, it becomes kind of boring and lame to watch. So what I kind of feel like he means here by simplicity is kind of a different area from what I'm going to. He mentioned stuff like the Eevee Ivy system, especially, that's a problem. Maybe not a problem, but rather, it can be a bit daunting. It can be a little bit of a hardship for people to get into when you're brand new to the franchise, you know what I mean? If you're a brand new person, you're just going to Pokemon, having to understand all these variables, all these extra things can be a bit hard. And I can agree that these things kind of need to be maybe toned down or at least simplified so the viewer, rather than the viewer, but rather the player can understand it in a simpler way. Because keep in mind, guys, if we don't have the general public playing Pokemon, and if people don't keep buying Pokemon main series games, they will die out. That's the biggest thing. The reason I'm mentioning this is that we gotta keep getting people interested in Pokemon. We gotta keep people joining the franchise, right, and not leaving. We need to keep the franchise, going, so to say, because if this next game is a reboot, so to say, then it's good if it sells a lot, because that then, it leaves it in the minds of, the people who played the game, who maybe have bought it. Let's say the game sells 20 million copies, right, the Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu and Let's Go Eevee. Let's say they sell 20 million copies, right? That's like, maybe like, if you compare it to the previous games, like, Sun and Moon, Ultra Sun and Moon, and whatnot, that's like maybe 2 million more people that maybe came from Pokemon GO, and are people that have never played like a main series game before, but they know about Pokemon from maybe the anime or the cards or whatever, and now they're playing the official main series stuff, and they're experiencing the things like we are, but in a simpler way to kind of get introduced into it easier, instead of being like, kind of force-fed a bunch of information that they don't really understand. I still struggle with like how Eevee and Ivy Point, all that stuff really works. I don't really get it myself either sometimes. I mean, I kind of comprehend it, but like sometimes I struggle with it myself, because there's a lot of it. There's really a lot of it. And I think the only time like where you see like, competitive scenes really working well is like on specifically Showdown and stuff, where if you go on there, you have like different, categories to like play within. But when it comes to like the competitive scene, it's really just the same thing, I feel like, as far as I could see. But I could be again wrong there. I shouldn't really be the person telling you about this stuff. But I personally feel like the combat system, or like the battling system, when I say simplified, I'm not talking to dumb it down, like make it stupidly easy and stupidly like like as bad as it is in Pokemon Go. Not that. No. We don't need that. We don't need Pokemon Go. Like, definitely not. I am not saying that. But I feel like we need to tone down the amount of things that we are throwing at the players so that the game will actually be more feasible and understandable for the viewers. Or rather the players. I keep saying viewers for some reason. Either way. Then he mentions capturing Pokemon. Now, this is something that I do not agree with, okay? I don't think this is really important. I don't think it's important how we catch the Pokemon, if we spin around a little Pokeball and throw it or whatever and whatnot. I don't think that's really important, but it isn't a bad, like, addition, because honestly, it just adds an extra element of gameplay. Honestly, I wouldn't mind that, because then that kind of, makes the catching of Pokemon a slightly more interesting part, because then you're taking the main mechanic from Pokemon Go and plugging it into, the now main series games, and that would be freaking awesome, actually. Though I don't think it's super important. I think it's a minuscule thing, but it would be cool to have. In all honesty, I think it's an addition that would be very nice. But then comes a few things that I want to talk about that are very important, and that is events. Now, here's the thing, right? Pokemon Go has tons of events. Now, some of them are better than others, right? Not all of them are fantastic, but they are generally there, right? You have events. Here's the problem with the Pokemon main series games. Everything is handed to you. We have no events, nothing special. I mean, we have those, like, challenges that, like, oh, let's do, like, a global mission or whatever, right? Where everybody has to catch, like, a million Pokemon, right? Stuff like that exists. Sure. Okay, cool. But they're really not that rewarding, and not many people involve themselves in them. We need these things to be more like, maybe let's say an event is popping up, and let's say, we have a menu in this game that we're going to be playing, then have like a little news menu that says like, oh, like just a little tiny like a schedule bar or whatever, and like, hey, press that. Oh, look, today's going to be an event where you can link your game to Pokemon Go and you can do some crazy stuff. Or, oh, hey, guess what? tomorrow you can go to this part of the game in this part of the region of Kanto and you can find Celebi or something, you know what I mean? Just stuff like that. I mean, I'm just kind of randomly saying stuff here, but like you kind of get what I mean. Like, make events more interesting. And on top of events, also we need to fix legendaries and also mythical Pokemon. Honestly, that is an issue that I think Pokemon Switch needs to fix. Now, Pokemon Go has them as raids and that sort of stuff. Now, I don't know how it works with mythical Pokemon, if they're actually in the games. I think they are, but like I don't know how they work. I think they're just mainly raids and you have to like struggle to actually get them. So you actually have to challenge these raids and like, you know, put in some effort to get those Pokemon and catch them and stuff. So that is understandable, you know, then that it's going to be slightly harder. But my point, you know, I digress from that. My point is that we need to make mythical Pokemon something that isn't just a thing where you go to a GameStop, bring along your whatever it may be, like you know, back in the day, like, you know, your DS or, you know, 3DS or whatever it is. We don't want to have to bring these things just awkwardly standing there to just scan a QR code. That is just weird. Why not just add them in the game? Like, in all honesty, just make them into events. Just make mythical Pokemon. Doesn't have to be like all of them in the game from the start. Just make them something you like update the game with. So let's say, hypothetically here, right, the game is out and it's been a month and they're like, okay, we're doing a, let's say, I don't know, maybe a Celebi event, right? I'll go with Celebi again. Okay, so we're doing a Celebi event. Now, how do you get it? Okay, so you need to get this and this thing, right? You need to go here and you need to enter this cave, and if you stand there for like a minute, you'll be able to find it and you'll be able to take it on and try to catch it. You will only have like, you know, one chance, and if you fail, you're done. I'm sorry, but you're gonna fail the event and yada yada, whatever. You know what I mean? You get the point. Like, make it more interesting by making like mythical Pokemon, legendary Pokemon as well, into actual events. Because I am genuinely against giving away legendaries for this, like, the year of legendaries, which we have right now with Ultra Sun and Moon and Sun and Moon, right? The year of legendaries. Okay, cool, sure. Like, I get it. Like, you know, Ultra Sun and Moon were kind of the conglomeration of all the games we've had. Like, you know what I mean? Everything kind of in one, so to say. I mean, not literally. I'm not talking about every region in every, like, in a single game. I'm not talking about, like, you know, all the evil leaders, all the legendaries, all the Pokemon, yada, yada, yada. All in one. Sure, that's fine, but don't do that again. Don't do that again. We don't need to be handed things. Let us work to get those things in games. What's most fun with games is when you earn things within them. Actually, that goes for everything. That's why a person who maybe works to earn their money, somebody who, you know, has a job and earns that money, appreciates that money, while somebody who's handed money and just doesn't earn it, doesn't appreciate that money as much. And that's the same thing with video games. You play games to play them, not to be handed stuff for free. That's not gameplay. That's not playing a game. That's way beyond what a game should be. A game is something you play and you play through and you enjoy, and it's supposed to also be hard and not just this easy thing where you're handed stuff on a gold plate, right? Or like a gold platter, whatever you call it, right? On a, I don't know which word I'm looking for, but my point is, you shouldn't be handed things. You should have to work for them within the game, and not just have to literally go to a GameStop, which I was at today. Not have to go to a GameStop, and that's how you receive the Pokemon. That is just, for me, beyond kind of redundant at this point, and I don't think it is worthwhile. Make mythicals and even legendaries into events within the game, because that will just get people to consistently play the game for a longer time, because they will give a reason for me, for example. After I'm done with the game, after I've done, you know, all the story, after I'm done with all that stuff, right? Then what do? Okay, so I've done the post-game, I've done this stuff, I've done Wi-Fi battles. Okay, now it's been 4 months, for example. What do I do now? You know, I maybe don't want to play the game anymore. Well, all of a sudden, oh, wait, something just popped up. What's up? Oh, we got an event. What's the event? Well, you can go to this forest, and you can have a chance to catch a Celebi, or, you know, whatever. Like, again, just do stuff like that. Do events the same way kind of Pokemon Go does it. Again, it's slightly different. It would have to be handled differently, but don't hand them out as codes, because that is just boring. That is just plain boring, in all honesty. So that's kind of things I want to talk about. That's personally the things that I feel like, a few things that Pokemon Go does better is specifically the simplicity, right? Now, the combat in Pokemon Go is not the best. I do like the fact that you have the dodging mechanic, which I think would be pretty cool within a Pokemon main series game, where you can dodge, but also you have to, like, you know, attack with your normal moves, and, you know, there's still the same basic system of, like, pick a move, attack, and, you know, then vice versa, but, like, also maybe with the added ability of actually being able to dodge him maybe, or something like that. That would be pretty cool, but I guess it would be too much for the competitive scene to be able, you know, have to handle, like, dodging while also attacking, and, you know, the possibility for imbalancing and all that stuff. I get that that can be an issue, so, that's besides the point. But just simplifying it to the point where we don't have to, worry about tons of things to understand what we're doing in the game, that would be very much appreciated, and I think a point that a lot of people would appreciate to have. So that's one thing. Then capturing Pokemon, that is a topic that I think is very much debatable, how you want to capture them. If you want to just spin around a Pokeball and throw it, or if you just want to go into your bag and press Pokeball and use, that's one way to do it as well. But as for events, this is one point that I don't really care what other people say about it. I personally feel like the kind of way we get legendary Pokemon and mythicals right now is plain boring. Like, I feel like they need to fix that. And I don't know, if you guys think differently, that's fully okay. I personally do not agree with that kind of thinking of like that being a good method. Again, if you do feel like, if you do think that way, if you think it's a good way to just hand them out, that's fair enough. That's your opinion and that's totally fine. You're entitled to that opinion. So either way, guys, that's going to be the end of this video. Let me know what you kind of thought about this kind of more discussion type of video. Again, I was going to kind of edit this together in a different manner and have like, like a visual thing on here. But I'm still learning like this brand new program, Adobe Premiere. Like, I've been using Sony Vegas for the longest time, but that program is not working anymore, so I'm just trying to, like, learn things. So I apologize if the video wasn't really the best, but it was a bit of a discussion video I wanted to have and kind of talk about things and kind of what I feel like this game kind of will need, in my honest opinion, and some things that it can kind of take from Pokemon Go. And also, I'm going to link the article down here that I was looking at while talking about this from specifically, it's on Nintendo Life, but it was, this soapbox, I'd say, was written by Joe Merrick. So if you guys want to read about it, I'm going to link it down below. Thank you so much for watching, guys. My name is Rolf Realit, and I'll see you all the next time, guys. Bye-bye.